How's everybody doing?
Hey, David.
Hey, David. Good.
So some people may have got crit notifications last night. You should not be getting text messages, but you may have gotten emails on a couple of publishers that there were a couple things where some devs had written some over-aggressive crits where there are issues which were not crits that were being labeled as crits, and then there was one that was actually a real crit. You may have seen this in your email, and it's basically the PGAI code had a runtime bug in it, and we detected this in real time with the crit system. And so Claudio's been fixing it, and that's about it for crit stuff. Any questions on crits?
Is that just critical notification crit?
Yeah. It is. So critical notifications. There are the PGHB team. Everyone gets a text message as well as an email. A couple of guys set it up so they get a phone call. But then everyone who is attached to that publisher account also gets an email. In addition to various devs. Now, there are a couple devs on Jose's team who also get critical notifications, but the main point there is that these should never happen. And when they do, it's for devs, it's drop what you're doing and fix it right now, because that's a serious problem. Now, in this first round, they had labeled some things as crits that are not that level priority. Like there was, this leads into one of my next things. Some of you guys are seeing in config test the A9 error, like it's saying A9 is not defined, blah, blah, blah. You don't have to worry about that because all the new versions of PGHB fix that. The old versions don't have it fixed yet. And so if you're seeing that, it's because you're running an older version of PGHB. It is all right. You can dismiss that error for 30 days easily, and you're not going to get it anymore. And then when you end up upgrading the pub, then you're going to be okay. You could dismiss it for 6 months. I'm okay with that also. But that's the big point on that A9 stuff. One of them, someone had labeled one of those a crit, and I'm like, that's definitely not a crit. And so critical errors, it's stuff where it's all hands on deck. Fix it right now. We should never be getting these problems. Among other things, these may include massive drop in impressions. So, for example, if we push out a bug in DFP, or not in DFP, we push out a bug in PGHB, and it causes the publisher's ads not to load. The indexer, if it doesn't catch it in real time, and much of the time it will catch it in real time, if it doesn't catch it in real time, there's an indexer that checks DFP's reporting is 20 to 40 minutes behind. And so realistically, we will see it in 40 minutes. And so most of the time we can see it in real time. If any of you got any messages from yesterday, those are real-time messages. It was detected that this was sent, and or that this was an error in real time, and notified about it. So, any questions on the A9 thing or crits?
Hey, David. Just curious, because when we did the config test, it was Feli who notified us that she was getting an error, a warning actually, showing that the HBS partner is not configured. But the other error that we saw was no bids on the add bidder section in the config test. And when we refresh and did debug, it was really just one HBS partner winning in multiple refreshes. Just today.
What version of header bidding code is that?
0.20.3 after, and it's also the same problem with 0.20.5 AEX.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that specifically to figure out what happened that disabled those bidders. Especially in some of the older versions, we ended up changing stuff up so that when a bidder gets disabled, we actually track it. So the config test stuff is correct. I don't know if those versions got that code. That is actually one of the things that we are working on to clean up from the dev side, making sure that any sort of bug fixes that we move on, that you guys get those bug fixes across multiple versions faster. So I'll have to look at it, but yeah.
Okay. And we confirmed with the partners as well. So 4 partners returned to us that volume has decreased starting 6 to 7 a.m. Eastern Time. And Index stopped winning the bids around that time.
I was going to say, who are they?
Oh, Index Exchange, Up Nexus, Off Media.
Okay, no, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah. And which pub was this on again?
We reached out for Board Panda. We haven't for the other publishers yet.
Definitely on PD. Okay. Yeah, we'll check it out because that's not normal. Yeah.
Thanks.
Anything else from anyone on the A9 stuff or the critical notification stuff? 1.16 is undergoing testing. There's a couple of pubs where we found some edge cases where some stuff is weird. So when Wuxio was running it on one section of their site for a while, it was working fine, and then it was not working. And so we're trying to figure out that. Same deal. So we knew in the beginning Board Panda's on-page code doesn't exactly work with the lazy code, and so we'll be doing more testing because the lazy code is built in by default for 1.16. Any questions on 1.16? Next thing, individual pub issues, Biblia, Neopets, and I have one more. Look at my list. And Columbia, all looking at those. So in Columbia, we've been following up. So that version, you cannot run older versions on NColumbia. The problem with NColumbia is that they have special code to deal with their stupid high currency, and that code is only in one of the versions. So if you don't run that version, it's not going to work. If that version has a problem on NColumbia, directly let me know. Biblia requested, effectively, they were requesting a feature that can re-auction. And with the lazy code, that's a lot easier to do. And so we've been adding that, and I'll follow up with him. And then Neopets, we have, I've been working out with their dev, and I got to follow up one more time. His stuff is good, though. So,
hey, David, for Biblia, do you know how much time we need? Just because I think from Andy's team, it's been hard to get managed demand approved, but we have 9 bidders approved for header bidding.
Yeah, it's direct on-page testing that we have to do. So realistically, we get to it when we get to it, but it's probably a couple days.
Okay, yeah, a week or something like that.
Yeah.
Just another question.
Realistically, I know he has been waiting, so I got to prioritize it a little bit higher. But yeah, we'll get it for him.
Mm-hmm. Another issue for Biblia, and I think it's for other publishers as well. I was talking to Gracie. It looks like we can't get AdX to work on AMP with header bidding, and there's been a lot of back and forth. And some people say we can, some people say we can't. We've been offering that in sales, so if we can't, I think we should know because some publishers have.
AdX should work fine in AMP. The issue that AMP has is many of these bidders are not AMP compatible, and so if like I wouldn't think Google would suddenly make AdX not compatible.
What we've seen is that for sites like Biblia, we did that, and the other sites we had the same issue. Is that you try to make
add a ticket. It's supposed to be compatible. Add a ticket, and we'll go from there.
Okay.
Dylan will have to look at it.
All right, Gracie, can you do a ticket for the publishers? You noticed that?
Sorry, looking for the unmute button. Sure. I'll have Martin lodge the ticket, but we're no longer testing AMP header bid at this time. So I think it would be best that somebody who is currently testing do the ticket. So that would be Biblia, right?
Mm-hmm. Andy, do we have a ticket for that?
We can handle the ticket. We can create.
Thanks.
The guy at Biblia, he knows that the AMP pages, like you can't do refreshes and SPA on that, right?
Yeah, he knows. It's just basic AMP. He just uses that to boost traffic, and after the second page view, he sends to the main website.
Right. Cool. It's going to be a short meeting. Otherwise, anyone have any questions on anything else? We have a bunch of stuff going on, but those are the bigs.
I just wanted to bring something up with one of the Brazilian publishers we had. So this question's for Gracie, and I asked it on Slack regarding Pedro. How do you say this site?
Natureza. It's like Q for nature.
Yeah, that. So it looks like performance went down like 50%, Gracie. Like when we first started, I guess we switched them over to DFP. AdX was header bidding, whatever, but they had like some hard coded stuff on their site, and maybe AdSense hard coded, and then other stuff hard coded. I don't know the whole story, but I'm just going by what Pedro told me. Correct me if I'm wrong, but did you guys gradually kind of switch him over, or did you just like switch him completely over to like AdX was header bidding on DFP?
It was a gradual transition. So we only started on it was handed over on the 24th. Day one, it was basically just one section of the site, like 5% of the traffic. Day two, around 23rd, and gradually we only went live with 100% of the traffic on the 31st. So from the time of the 25th all throughout until the 30th, it was barely 50%, not hitting 50%. And the performance is being compared to the days prior to going live, which is 100%
So,
traffic.
did you verify that there are both AdX and DFP, or AdX and AdSense line items running in DFP run of network? Because there's no reason for a 50% drop other than something like that.
No, it was really just how it's being compared, David. The performance because publisher is just looking at revenue.
So Gracie, the publisher is just wrong, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the comparison should only be the 31st and the days prior to switching.
Okay, I believe you because publishers do this all the time. But the thing is, let Pedro know and paint him a picture, or paint the publisher a picture and copy Pedro, because Pedro gets bombarded in Portuguese by the publisher. They're not going to go to you and complain. So just make sure that's kind of clear, not just to Pedro, to the publisher, because if he's comparing the wrong numbers, and again, I believe you, I get it, it happens all the time, just make sure us as a team are kind of unified in that message. Otherwise, Pedro takes it, and when the publisher talks to him and he's like, okay, I'll check, I don't know what to do here, all I do is speak Portuguese to you. So make sure it's all, there's a synergy, okay?
Can we agree that if, in case the publisher reach out to him, he should forward it to us instead of relaying back and forth?
Pedro?
Yeah, I'll do that. Just let me know if he sent you the screenshot of what was left. Because he keeps arguing, since I told you guys gonna give updates, and then today he was like, I'm still making less money. So he's just been or he's being really stubborn and he's making less money, or he's really not getting anything. And he might be just he just doesn't get the stats. But if he's claiming he's making $200 and I saw the stats for yesterday and for the day before, which was like 100% traffic, and we made like less than $140, then there's a gap, too big of a gap, and someone is wrong. And I think he's gonna be like doing this until, like, if he gets the impression he's making less money, he's just gonna pull back. That's what I think is gonna happen. So let me know if you do the stats and if we know for sure how much he was making before.
I think this is technically our second day.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah. The problem here is we're not crossing through the publisher. He's not talking to us. That's the problem.
Yeah, so that's the problem. Okay, fine, but we got to find a solution, right? So ideally, we would have Pedro selling in Portuguese, and we'd have a Portuguese or Brazilian-based AdOps team, but that's not the case. So we have to deal with the cards that have been dealt. So you need to update Pedro and make sure he radiantly understands it, and then update the publisher, make sure he radiantly understands the stats that he's comparing is wrong. That calms down, that fires out, and then we can work on Pedro's being like, talk to Gracie, talk to the AdOps team, etc., etc., etc. But right now we got to put out this fire.
Great.
Cool. I'll let you guys do that. That's all I had.
Anything else from anyone on anything?
Yeah, David, just want to follow up if you saw the question of Ashwin regarding the file people setup.
I will have to look through it. We've been slammed with a bunch of stuff.
Okay, thank you.
David, yeah, go ahead.
What's up? No, go ahead.
Yeah, so next Monday we'll be going live with NeoFed, so thank you, by the way, for your help. But they have a question if there's a way that we can do an ad refresh every time a user will open a new tab and then go back to the page. So technically that's a user-initiated action. I'm not sure if that's possible from our end.
If a user opens a new tab?
Yeah, for example, he's in Neopets and then he'll open a new tab. Like, go to their website and then go back to Neopets? Is there possible?
That is functionality we can add. It's going to take some time, though. The big thing there, though, is you only want to refresh the ads that are viewed. They need to know that they need publisher education on that. Because a lot of these guys are blindly pushing for refresh, and they're blindly pushing for justifications on, hey, I came up with this one idea, and this idea, it's a user action, so it should count. Unviewed impressions getting refreshed is bad for the publisher. It hurts them more than it helps.
Actually,
as long as they understand that. Yeah, as long as they understand that, that's okay. So the way we would set it up is, and it'll take a little bit of time to get that set up correctly, but the way we would set it up is it's only going to refresh the impressions that are on page that were viewed. If it's below the fold and an unviewed impression, it's not going to refresh because it should not refresh. Refreshing unviewed impressions drastically hurts the publisher's performance. Currently, the way I describe it, I call it the Ozok effect. And the Ozok effect, basically, if you guys were paying attention to the Ozok situation, the people on the Ozok team were very, very well aware of this. One day, Ozok's impressions tripled. Like, they went up, and the guy at Ozok was like, hey, I just got a lot more traffic, but I didn't make any more money. What's going on here? Well, all it is because he was refreshing so aggressively, the bulk of the time they were completely unviewed impressions. Literally in the same day, the bidder's machine learning algorithms had already started reacting. And they stopped bidding proportionally. So he tripled the number of impressions, but they reduced their bids by almost 70%. because that's what it was proportionally. The advertising value does not magically increase just by having a refresh, and they need to understand that. Once upon a time, publishers would run refreshes indiscriminately, and they'd get away with it because viewability and this performance pipeline stuff wasn't actually a thing. They're just buying impressions blindly. But that no longer flies today. It's not even close. So the publisher needs to definitely be educated on this, and they're very, very aggressive on that kind of stuff, because it actually makes them less money. So if you have a 35% viewability unit and you compare it to a 70% viewability unit on the same pub, on the same page, the 70% viewability unit averages about 2.2 to 2.4x of the CPM of the 35% unit. And you can tell on this, if you guys need me to write an article on it, I will. Google has gone over this extensively. Doubling the viewability more than doubles the revenue. And the reason this happens is because on the buy side, the way the bidders are able to purchase, the systems only allow them to say, hey, I'm going to pay X rate for impressions on ad units have greater than 70% viewability. And so many of them do that, or they say greater than 60%, greater than 80%, and that's why those rates go up more than linearly. They go up super linearly, and so it's really, really important that your publishers understand that just running up unviewed impressions is bad. Any other questions from anyone on anything?
One last from me, David. So the config version test that you have is a kind of cool tool that we have right now. But do we have an option where we can increase the split, like 80-20 or 70-30? Am I right?
You mean the staging stuff?
Yeah, the staging stuff.
We don't currently have that. So we have plans to make it so it is set to run on the statistically required amount to get it's basically the minimum traffic to get a statistically relevant answer between the two versions. And that's obviously, it's going to max at 50%, and you just have to run it for more days. But we don't have plans to make it like a custom percentage. Is there a particular pub and a particular reason why you wanted to specify a customized percentage?
Not really, because one of the strategies we have is before we go all into certain config, maybe we can have like a gradual split for those impressions. But I'm okay with that kind of stuff. I'll add it to the feature list. It'll eventually get implemented, but it's not like a drop everything and do that. Gotcha. Thank you. Any other questions from anyone on anything? Go in once. Go in twice. Alrighty. Catch you guys later.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.